Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to talk to you guys about the brand new record from Gladenfold, When Gods Descend, out May 24th on Reaper Entertainment Europe. This album has 10 tracks, it's 51 minutes in length, and this is the band's second full-length album. Now this album, in my opinion, has two main factors, two main components, if you will. Obviously the music and the lyrics. I know these seem obvious, but they're not. In this specific record, I really feel like it's really divided into these two key aspects because you need these two key components to really work together in order for this album to work. Anytime you have an album that's based on a concept, that there is a common thread connecting every single song, either be a story that continues from song to song or an overall idea, an overall concept that really interconnects with all the tracks, you have to have an album that really blends the music and the lyrics. The music really is there to enhance the storytelling aspect of the songs, the storytelling aspect of the lyrics, and the lyrics are there to really give life to that music. So the two are really interconnected. You cannot have one without the other. The two really feed off of each other, and for an album like this that has that concept, that has that main idea of gods, if you will, and how humans interact with those gods and the stories that come from those interactions, you really need to have a record that musically and lyrically is divided but yet comes together to really bring the best out of those two worlds. You really need the lyrics to enhance the music, and you need the music to bring the lyrics to life. Now, from the music side of things, I really felt the album combines three different styles: symphonic metal, power metal, and melodic death metal. I really feel that those three components, those three styles, those three genres, if you will, are really together on this record. And on any single track of the album, you can feel those influences. On some songs you get more of a power metal influence, on some songs you get more of a symphonic metal influence, and then there's some songs where you get more of the melodic death metal influence. But all three are present on every single song. The question is how much? And that really varies from song to song, but it also varies with the story of the specific song, of the lyrics of that specific song. So they used whatever genre they felt was better suited for the story, it was better suited to tell this story, and that's where they went with the most. They still incorporated the other two, they still brought them into the picture, they still had sprinkles of those other genres on the songs, but they used the one that fit the story, the atmosphere of the track better, and then they used the other two to enhance the story, to enhance the music, to enhance the overall experience of the track. So musically, this is what you're going to get from this record. Now lyrically, like I said, there is a concept to it. There is stories about God and people and their relationships with their God. So this is the thread that connects this whole record. So you're going to have different stories, different components from song to song, but they all have common denominators. They're all interconnected. They're all interweaved. So from these two major components, this is how the album breaks down. Then as far as the actual structure of the record, I really feel like this album is divided into two parts. There's the first part, and then there's the second part. The first part, I would say, is up to track 5, and then there's track 6 that almost feels like an acoustic ballad, if you will, and it really breaks the album into two. It really divides the record. And then you have the second part of the record that goes from track 7 to track 10. Now, on the first part of the record, I really felt that there was a lot more symphonic and power metal influences into the songs. You still get the melodic death metal coming in and out of any single track from track 1 to track 5, but I really feel the core, the essence of the songs in that first half of the record are really symphonic and power metal driven. From the style of the songs, how the songs come at you, the melody of the songs, everything about the song structure in that first half of the album, it really screams symphonic and power metal. That's my perspective. Then you have, like I said, almost an acoustic ballad in the middle, and track number 6 really breaking the album into two, if you will. And then the second half, I really feel like while you still have a lot of symphonic elements on the last end of the album, and while you still have a lot of power metal influences on that part of the record, I really feel that the majority, the spinal cord, the DNA, if you will, of those tracks at the end of the record, that second half of the record, if you will, it's really melodic death metal driven. And I'm not talking this just from the vocals. I'm talking about the whole sense of the songs, the way the songs are put together, the structure of the songs, how they use the keyboards in those songs. Very different style from how they use the keyboards in the first part of the record that felt more symphonic, and the second part of the album, the keyboard melodies feel more melodic death metal driven, if you will. So I really feel like the album is divided into these two parts, using the same elements on both parts, but how they used them was different. How they incorporated them into the tracks, how they incorporated them into the songs was different. So therefore, it gave the songs a different atmosphere, a different vibe, a different feel, a different sound. So I really feel the album, the first half is more symphonic power metal driven, and then the second half a lot heavier, more melodic death metal driven. Now, another component that I must say before I get into my favorite tracks is the vocals. I really need to talk about the vocals on this record because I really like what they've done with the vocals on this album. They incorporated a lot of things vocally. They use clean and harsh vocals on the record, gives the songs a real dynamic, a real storytelling aspect, if you will. So I really like that. I like how they use them. They didn't go over the top with either one. They really mixed them perfectly throughout the record. They really used them well in order to tell the story and really to enhance the lyrics. And then they also used them well based on the style of the song, on the driving force of the song. If the song was more symphonic, power metal song, they used more clean vocals, less harsh vocals. If the song had more of a melodic death metal vibe, then they used more harsh vocals. So I really like that. But that's not the only things they did vocally. They used choirs, they used a female voice in the background to add layers, specifically in some tracks where you have clean vocals in the chorus, and they came in with a female vocalist in the background. It really added a very cinematic vibe to the songs. It added a really cool dimension to the song. It added layers to the song, and it made the clean vocals seem a little bit thicker, a little bit bigger. It gave volume to them. So they incorporated a lot of different things: choirs, female vocals, clean vocals, harsh vocals. They really did a lot on the vocal side of things, almost to try to match the diversity from the musical side of things, because this album is very diverse musically and not least vocally. So I really enjoyed that aspect. I really enjoyed the effort in order to make an album this dynamic, this robust, an album that incorporates so many different things. They didn't just do it from the music side of things, which perhaps would have been the easiest approach, was to blend those genres and make songs that really feel diverse and dynamic and different, using perhaps the best parts of all of those genres. That perhaps would have been the better, not the better, but the easier road for them. They didn't do just that. They felt perhaps that, okay, we're going to be diverse as far as the sound is concerned. We're also going to be diverse as far as the vocals are concerned, and really give life to the songs, create different dynamics, clean, harsh, choirs, female vocalists. Let's add as many layers as we can. Let's try to balance how dynamic and fluid the album is musically with the vocal side of things. So I really like what they did from that perspective. It made the album really interesting and really came to life as you sit down to listen to it. Now, as far as favorite songs are concerned, I picked 3 songs that I feel represent what I just said to you guys, in terms of the different genres that influence the album, how those genres come together, how the album is really divided, I believe, into 2 parts. So that is what I thought about when I decided to sit down and pick my favorite 3. So I'm going to start with The Descent of the Gods, which is the first track on the album. This song to me really represents that first half of the album. It's really fast driven, it has a high tempo, a lot of symphonic elements into this song. This really feels like a symphonic metal song with power metal influences, and then a little sprinkle of melodic death metal. So to me, this song is the perfect representation of that first half of the record. Really fast tempos, great song, great atmosphere to the song, really a cinematic song, if you will. It has that symphonic element that really gives the song a cinematic vibe. So I really like that song from that perspective. I like what they did musically on this song, but I like what they did vocally by adding choirs, by adding the clean and the harsh vocals to give that different dynamic. So there's a lot of stuff being thrown at you in this song that really represents that first half, including something that they did well on almost every single more symphonic driven song. They did really well was creating bridges in the song. They create middle bridges of the song, either with bass or with a keyboard melody or with a guitar solo. They just create songs that have a lot of life, a lot of ups and downs, and this one is no different. There is a little bit of a Middle Eastern melody bridge vibe in the middle of the song with a choir behind it that really adds that symphonic element to the song, but it also adds a different melody. It really brings the song to a different place. It really has that Middle Eastern vibe, and that was really different, specifically with this song and how they added that vibe. But with every track, they really tried to change things up and really give you songs that are not linear, that are not level from beginning to end, that really have ups and downs, different momentums, different speeds, different sounds, different places where they put the guitar solos or the keyboard melodies come in. So this song is very dynamic from that perspective. You just feel like there's so many moving parts coming at you, and it's the perfect introduction to an album that has a lot of moving parts. The second song I want to mention to you guys is Sanctuary Denied. This song is the number 4 on the record, and this one starts to see a change in the album. And this one still has a lot of symphonic elements in it, a little bit of melodic death metal in it, and to me the driving force behind this song is without a doubt power metal. I really felt that as the record progresses, it goes from more symphonic to more power metal to then to more melodic death metal. So this one is almost at that tipping point where it changes to a more heavier part of the record, and to me this song is very power metal driven. I really liked it. I still like the fact that they kept enough of the symphonic elements into the song. It really gives the song atmosphere. It gives a nice mood, overall mood to the song, but I really like the power metal in it. To me, the power metal in it is really the driving force behind this song. I love the keyboard. There's an underlying keyboard melody that really sets the tempo, it sets the mood. Absolutely beautiful. And then you have some keyboard notes coming in and out of the song, piano notes, absolutely beautiful. They just add to a song that has a lot of power metal to it. They do add that little bit of a symphonic element that really gives a different melody. It gives something else to your ears, and it's really well done because there's a keyboard melody underlined, and sometimes it comes up more and goes away. It's never really predominant. It's almost like it's like a tide. It just comes in and out. But then they sprinkle in these keyboard notes that are absolutely phenomenal. It just adds a whole complete different vibe to the song, and it really creates a song that has a lot of melody, still a lot of momentum. This song also has a little bit of a ballad vibe to it, almost a power metal ballad vibe to it, which is really cool when you think of how the structure of the album is put together, and to think that a couple of tracks from after this one, you're going to get a song that's pretty much an acoustic ballad. So you can start to feel the structure of the record based on these first songs, the first song, the fourth song. You start to feel a dynamic for the record, you start to feel a vibe for the record, and you start to understand exactly how they plan to structure this album. Everything is starting to fall into place. Which takes me to the third song, Shadows and Dust. This one falls on the last part of the record. This is track number 8. So this song falls on the bitter end of bitter because the album is coming to an end, not because it's bad. I really enjoyed how the album was structured, and I like this last part of the record. I picked this song because it felt to me that it was perhaps one of the songs on the record, specifically on this later stages of the record, that had the most melodic death metal influences to it. The keyboard melody at the start of the song is absolutely divine. It reminded me of Children of Bodom. Early on, Children of Bodom. This song, in my mind, has huge influence. There's huge influence of Children of Bodom on this track, specifically from the keyboard melody and how they used the harsh vocals with that keyboard melody, with the guitar melody at the same time. So you get the guitars having the same melody as the keyboards with harsh vocals on top of it. A lot of the same traits that you expect or you got used to from early on Children of Bodom are represented into this song. Now, they still throw you some power metal, some symphonic metal. The song still gives you enough of those changes that it's not a pure melodic death metal song or a song that you would expect Children of Bodom to play. there are characteristics of Children of Bodom. There are a huge core of this song that's melodic death metal, but they still give you enough power metal, enough symphonic metal, enough clean vocals to really allow the song to feel like it changes on a dime. This is a song that really has ups and downs. You get a wave of melodic death metal with incredible, beautiful keyboard melody, matched with the guitar melody, with the harsh vocals on top of it, to then change on a dime and become almost more of a symphonic song with clean vocals, slow down the tempo, slow down the heaviness, and almost the keyboards going away. So it's a song that really changes. It feels like it's constantly changing, but anytime that keyboard melody comes in with the guitars, with the harsh vocals, you do get that Children of Bodom vibe, you do get that melodic death metal vibe, and it's a song that really has an interesting dynamic to it. It almost feels like it's a song made up of two separate songs coming together to create one single track. Alright guys, this is it for me. This is Gladenfold, When Gods Descend. This is a really interesting album, specifically from the dynamic of how the album is structured. Like I said, broken into two, if you will. I also like the dynamic of the storytelling aspect, how they use clean, harsh vocals, different styles of vocals, different layers, choirs, all of that stuff. This is a really interesting record for a band that's releasing their second full-length album. This is really worth a listen. So if you like symphonic metal, if you like power metal, I would suggest you check them out. If you're a fan of melodic death metal, perhaps this is not as much for you because there's not as much of it on the record, but still a very interesting album, an album that I really enjoyed listening to it. Now I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think of the band? What do you think of the record? Did you check out the singles? Let me know in the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.